We're very pleased that our next guest, Senator Amy Klobuchar, is able to join us tonight. As I said when we opened, she was originally part of our schedule for tomorrow morning, but had a funeral that she has to attend for a friend back in Minnesota. So we're very happy that you were able to make it tonight, Senator. Senator Klobuchar has represented Minnesota in the U.S. Senate for just over 5 years. She's a graduate of Yale and the University of Chicago Law School. She joined the Senate after serving as a partner in two of the state's leading law firms and then as a chief prosecutor in the state's largest county. We also hear that early in her career, the senator was among 1 in 3 Americans who got their start in the restaurant business. So, happy to hear that. In the Senate, she's known as a fierce fighter for Minnesota, a strong advocate for middle-class families, and a no-nonsense lawmaker who backs serious efforts to address the nation's debt crisis. She's also a tireless advocate for tourism and hospitality, something near and dear to all of us in this room. Last year, she helped launch the bipartisan Senate Travel and Tourism Caucus. She also chairs a key Senate Commerce subcommittee that deals with tourism issues. Senator Klobuchar was a leading force behind the Travel Promotion Act of 2010. The NRA strongly supported that act, which is expected to bring millions of additional visitors and billions, as Dawn says with a B, billions of dollars to the United States, building business and jobs for all kinds of tourism businesses. Late last month, the senator joined her colleagues in introducing the JOLT Act, a bill to make it easier for travelers from overseas to get to the United States. And I'm happy to report that Senator Klobuchar is the latest senator to join as a co-sponsor of our bill promoting a permanent 15-year depreciation schedule for restaurant improvements and construction. Senator Klobuchar? Almost. Thank you for the many steps that you've taken to support the U.S. tourism industry and put more people into restaurant seats. We appreciate your leadership, and if you have time, we hear you might have quite a fish story to tell, and something about an angry trout, but you can get that later. Anyways, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Senator Amy Klobuchar.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It is so wonderful to be here with all of you. I love the restaurant industry. When I was growing up, we only got to go to, there was a restaurant called the Jolly Green Giant restaurant in Minnesota, and we got to go twice a year. So maybe it's just by my limited exposure that I'm now so psyched about being able to help you with so much of your work. And Don, Roz, Phil, thank you for your leadership. It was great to hear the congressman. I thought he did a tremendous job. An honor to be here with so many friends from Minnesota, including Buffalo Wild Wings, yes, Pizza Lucci, Parasol Holdings, Champs, the Men Dakota Country Club. We've got Ecolab represented for those interested in good sanitary restaurants, right? And I know that this is a hard segue to Ron Brownstein, but Ron is going to be here, and his column in the National Journal is a must-read for all of us in the Senate, so it'll be a treat for all of you to hear from him. And thank you as well to our sponsors, Pepsi and American Express. What amazing award winners. I was so glad I didn't have to go after Leah Chase, okay? That was a beautiful, beautiful speech. And I have this, as mentioned, I would have loved to be there tomorrow morning with Speaker Boehner. I thought that was kind of cool. But one of my best friend in Minnesota's husband suddenly died. And I thought of when Leah said, "We will cry at home," and that's what I'll do. But I wanted to also acknowledge Bajat and Jorge for their amazing service. So thank you for that. I'm honored to bring you greetings from our state, the state of Minnesota, where in the words of our pseudo-poet laureate Garrison Keillor, right? The women are strong, huh? The men are good-looking, and all the restaurants are above average. I mentioned some of the major restaurants we have earlier, and the Angry Trout was, I had to get a plug in for my junior high friends who started the Angry Trout Cafe, I love that name, up in Grand Marais. We have big chain franchises in Minnesota. We have many small diners, and it's been a big part of the fabric of life in our communities. We are first per capita for Fortune 500 companies. I love telling people that. So we have a thriving businesses in our state. And as was mentioned, I think it's 1 out of 4 people, 1 out of 3 people get their start in the restaurant industry, and in fact, that was me. So my first job, I don't think you can guess this, was at the A&W root beer stand, okay? I was at the A&W root beer stand. This is back in the 70s. I was 14 years old. I was a car hop, and they made us wear a T-shirt that said, "Take home a jug of fun." It was really tight T-shirt, and I would have to listen to the calls about when you put a mama burger and a papa burger together, what happens? Okay, anyone work at A&W? Take home a jug of fun. That's what the T-shirt said. Well, then I moved on. I moved on to Poppin' Fresh, right, in Baker Square Pie Shop. I worked there for years, but my career came to an abrupt end as a waitress when I spilled 12 iced teas on one customer. That truly happened. They left me a penny to be mean, not that I remember. Is there anyone here from New York, actually? New York, anyone? Okay, all right. Well, actually, my best friend, Amy, from kindergarten on, who also worked for me at Baker Square, went on to start Amy's Breads, which is a pretty famous bakery in New York. Isn't that cool? So she talks to me many times about agriculture subsidies, so don't worry, and various things. I just saw her last week. So that was my start with the restaurant business. I then went to college, law school, went to law firm Dorsey & Whitney and Gray Plant Moody. And actually, as the Minnesota people will tell you, Gray Plant did a tremendous amount of franchise work. So I had a lot of fun representing Dairy Queen in their 2-for-1 Sunday deal when every state approved it except, are you ready for this, Ms. Chase? Louisiana. And I had to go down there and fight for them to get it done. So I did a lot of regulatory work at that time, went on to be a prosecutor, then went on to the United States Senate. I was a relatively new person there. I'm a spring chicken in the U.S. Senate, right? And I will never forget, speaking of food, my first lunch in the U.S. Senate, LBJ room, big picture of Lyndon Johnson looming above. And I went and I got a salad and soup from the little buffet table. I sat down. I'm ready to dive in. All the senators are around me. Patty Murray, the senator from Washington State, runs around the table and says, "Amy, you just took the entire bowl of Thousand Island dressing and you're about to eat it." And I didn't miss a beat. I said, "That's what we do in Minnesota. We eat the Thousand Island dressing." Actually, that was a step up from my first time in Washington, and then I'll get to the matter at hand. It's a true story. My first visit ever, I was a prosecutor. I was invited. Bill Clinton was president. I was invited to something about a crime bill that was being introduced. At the last minute, they asked me to introduce him. I wrote this little speech. I'm standing outside of the East Room. Janet Reno's on one side, Bill Clinton's on the other, and the military band starts playing, do, 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 do. And I'm nervous, like there's all these people. I start walking in, all of a sudden I feel this big hand on my shoulder, and this voice says, "I know you're gonna do great out there, but when they play that song, I usually go first." So it is It has really been uphill for me since that time, I like to say. So now let's talk about some of your issues. We worked very hard, as all of you know, on the swipe fee issue, working with Senator Durbin. I appreciated all of your work on that. We had a lot of businesses in Minnesota that cared about that, a lot of consumer groups, small businesses. Target cared a lot, Best Buy, all located in Minnesota. The final rule issued by the Federal Reserve, I know, was not everything you wanted, but it was a step in the right direction, and we're continuing to work on that issue. There have been some regulatory issues. I literally am probably the only senator that loves regulatory reform. That's what I did in 14 years, and I see us as not just competing against each other anymore. We're competing against companies in other countries and businesses in other countries, and we need to make our rules and regulations as streamlined as possible. I was one of the senators that led the fight for the 1099 repeal with the health care bill this last year that I know was important for you. And I have gotten on the 15-year depreciation period bill. I know that's so important to you, working with Senator Kent Conrad. I know, okay. I think this is the only crowd that applauds for 15-year depreciation bill, so I was going to try it out to see what would happen. I wanted to talk a little bit about the tourism work. Senator Blunt is the ranking member on that committee. We just did a subcommittee. We did a hearing together. We literally have done everything together. Before that, Senator Lemieux, before that, Senator Martinez, all of whom care a lot about tourism. And it's been some of the most rewarding work I've done in the Senate. I really view this, when the president has called for doubling exports in 5 years, this is the key. Tourism is the key. We have lost 16% of the international tourism business since 9/11. And you can't be political about it. You can't blame one administration or the other. It overlapped both administrations. 16%. Every point we've lost is 160,000 jobs. Think about it. So if we could just get back 2 points of that market, it's 300,000 jobs right here in America. And so we have worked so hard on really two things. The first was the Travel Promotion Act. The ads are being rolled out over the next year. The second, which I think is equally important, is the visa delays. I remember Senator Blunt and I had a hearing, and we showed a video from the Brazil version of Good Morning America, or the Today Show, showing people literally laying on the streets, sleeping for days, trying to get their tourist visa to come to America. We want them to come here. The average tourist that comes to America spends $5,000. If you've looked at this, the NRA research shows that tourists accounts for roughly 40% of fine dining sales, 20% of sales at family and casual dining restaurants, and about 15% of sales in quick service establishments. So we have worked incredibly hard to get this fixed. It has been a very big grassroots effort from the restaurants and the hotels in terms of working with the administration. One of my favorite stories is one of the hotel owners in New York attended a very small dinner for the president in which he got to sit next to Gwyneth Paltrow, and the only question he asked of the president of the United States next to Gwyneth Paltrow was, "Could you improve the visa wait lines, please?" So we have done this across the way, and we've seen some major improvements in China. We're next targeting India and Brazil. There's a guy named Tom Nides who's high up at the State Department, who's from Minnesota, that I have worked with every single day on this issue, because some of this doesn't need a bill. Some of this is just moving people around to the consulate offices so we can get this done. These consulate officers that process these visas, they are profit centers for the government. They make over $1 million a year for the government because of the visa expenses that they bring in, the visa fees. So remember that as this goes forward. The JOLT Act that was mentioned, this is another really important thing. Listen to the group that's on it. Senator Schumer's sponsoring it. I'm on it. Mikulski, working with the other sponsors, Senator Blunt, Rubio, and Kirk. Okay, that's a good group. And it's basically, I think many of us got involved in this because of interests in our state. But it's also about moving our country forward and finally being willing to talk about some of these difficult issues about visas. And I hope it starts some discussion on immigration reform, which is something that I also think we need to move to. I started up this committee on, it used to be called Trade and Tourism, and I changed the name of it to Competitiveness, Innovation, and Export Promotion, because I truly believe that if we're going to move forward as a country, tourism has to be part of this larger agenda, which is exports. That we need to be a country that makes stuff again, that invents, that exports to the world. We can't just rely on our financial sector. We've got a big one in Minnesota. As good as it is, we just can't rely on churning money. We have to go back to being a country that makes things, that has real businesses, that provide services to the people of this country. That's what you do every single day. And I just know a little piece about it from my years working first as a car hop and then as a waitress, and hearing from my friend Amy in New York about the difficult challenges that you have every single day. But it is a business worth doing. I want to thank you for everything you've contributed to our country. I look forward to working with you in the years to come. Keep up the good work. You are truly where, what does your sign say? America works. Thank you.